Hi, so it is almost sunset by the time I'm recording this, and I'm very much, uh, today I'm feeling very mid. I think like that's the best way I can describe it, because today was good. I did, a lot of healing, a lot of relaxing, a lot of, just minding my own business in a very positive way, and that was great. That was very, very great for me. I'm feeling very relaxed, very renewed. I feel like my energies have been replenished, and that's exactly what I'm here for. So that's good. I'm happy about that. On the other hand, what is happening is that basically I actually, like, the more I think about it, like, the more positive I see it. It's just that I've been kind of like embracing the whole, like, all the negative emotions that I'm feeling. So all the possessiveness, all the envy, the jealousy, all the loss, the feeling of, losing something, and all those other ones that go hand in hand with these ones. I've kind of like, I'm letting my brain kind of, just exist with like those emotions right there. So I'm kind of like just allowing my brain to, just say those things, say the things that, usually I try to avoid, because, it's just a little nonsensical, because it's never, in fact, I'm feeling like it's lost for something that was never really mine in the first place. I'm feeling, jealous and envious of something that doesn't even exist. I'm just feeling, it's just like the possibility of like those things existing. Like, that is pretty much what is at stake here. That's pretty much what my brain is kind of, wrapping itself around. And oi.
Tá mandando?
Já te mandei, eu tô gravando.
Pode fechar?
Anyway, so that was my dad, and he asked me to send him like the pictures that we took today, and I have already sent him. But sometimes, he just asks for me to send things, and then he doesn't check if I did. But that's that. But back to what I was saying, I was basically allowing my head to just say all the nasty things, all the unreasonable things. That is kind of like, something that is actually good for me, because sometimes I'm trying to be reasonable all the time, and that isn't always, the healthiest, because, our brains, they're not, nonsense. They're not reasonable all the time. So you have to acknowledge, the unreasonable parts, and you have to kind of, embrace it in a certain way, if you want those parts not to, get in the way of, of everything, which is kind of like what is happening. I think I mentioned yesterday that I was considering maybe doing kind of like, I think I call it like, shock therapy, where I would expose myself to certain things that they kind of trigger these parts of my brain that are they're feeling this very possessive, yeah, they're feeling very possessive. I don't know how to describe it better than that, because, it does a good job, like, I'm feeling possessive, and usually I don't feel that way. I tend to be a very laissez-faire person, like, I just do my thing over here, I let people do their thing over there, and, to each their own, basically. But, sometimes, but that's the thing with these feelings, because they interfere with this kind of balance I think I have going on, where I am doing my thing and I'm letting people do their own thing, and we all respect each other. I know that in practice that isn't always the case, but, like, that is kind of, the baseline I'm trying to operate under. This assumption that, we can all coexist, that we can all exist in a way that doesn't interfere with each other, in a way that, people can kind of just, be, without their existence having to be politicized and, opposed. Just anyways, this is getting way, just something that I wasn't really thinking. But I kind of like have been allowing my head, one way or another, to kind of, like, embrace this reality, and just really be like, not kind of like, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. Very similar to Smeagol, Lord of the Rings, just feeling that's kind of, I mean, I'm less than that, of course, but I think that I have to let myself have that little moment before I can move on, because this is something that was very much a part of me for so long, for like almost a year. And, when you have something, even if it isn't actually like, real in the sense of, it's something concrete, something you can, touch, it wasn't like that, but it was real in my head, because, it was accompanying, my thoughts and, everything that was happening. So it was real in that way. And because I have to kind of like treat it as such. I think this is kind of like the issue that I'm facing right now, is that I'm trying to just do with these feelings that I have in a way that I'm not acknowledging the reality of the situation, which is that that there were these urges and these desires and these realities that existed only in my head, but they were very real for me, for the extent of time that they existed. And they kind of like keep coming back. As I said, I'm really allowing my head to just scream metaphorically. I'm not screaming literally, but I'm letting my brain kind of like scream inside. It's just all the things, all the unreasonable. I think I was talking about this, me being unreasonable, and kind of like how I try to avoid it at all costs, when I'm kind of like realizing that sometimes you have to be a little unreasonable, because our thoughts aren't always reasonable. They aren't always like the most logical. So I have to kind of like meet yourself where you are at, and in this case, in this particular reality, these particular emotions, it requires me kind of like just dealing with the situation as if it had actually happened, and that it is something that is actually being taken away from me, because I think this is the only way for me to move forward, for me to heal. Because until I kind of like I accept that it was something factual, something concrete in my head, I'm gonna kind of like keep running in circles, where I'm gonna make a little progress. I'm gonna move away a little bit from like this part of my brain, this part of my life. Yeah, I think this is it. Like, a part of my life, this happened for like almost a year. It was almost a year there in my head, so it has some weight. A year is a long time. And yeah, also something I kind of like realized the other day, is that the last time we were here, I was already like this fantasy was already like operating, so it was even longer than I had kind of like imagined. But yeah, so today was mid. It was not, I think like maybe like calling my date mid is not really the best way to kind of like really picture everything, because it was pretty good, but there were some bad moments, so they kind of like average out into something really really I'm saying mid, but like I don't mean like mediocre. It's just average. Like there are some positives, some negatives. Also, the more I think about it, I think there were like more positives than negatives, because even like the negatives that I had like in mind at first, like they are actually positives on the long run. I need these little moments that I've been allowing myself to have, where I'm like screaming into the void. Not literally, because I mean maybe I should scream like literally. Maybe I should find a pillow and just scream into the pillow. That might do something. I don't really see it doing anything. I mean, other than like satiating like a very momentary urge, but like it's not going to be that constructive, in the sense that it is not going to like really help me heal. Or maybe it will. That's the thing. Maybe I should be doing that. I mean, a lot of times in my life, I have wanted to just scream and get it all out of my system, and I never really do. I mean, when I'm like normal, not having an episode, I don't really do it. I just kind of like I scream internally, and that does something, but that is not as effective as I guess as screaming. But like I can justify screaming right now. Like it's going to seem like I'm kind of like screaming for help or something. And also like it speaks of your mind not being particularly stable, which I understand. Just going around screaming. I don't know, like, and I'm looking at all this nature, and I'm like, maybe I could go somewhere and yell. I'm really tempted to yell right now. This is not where I wanted, this whole interaction to go. I mean, I say interaction, but it's just really me with myself. So, it's not a dialogue, it's a monologue. But it is an interesting monologue. I'm kind of like realizing things about myself as I go. And I don't know. But yeah, so today was very good in terms of like relaxing. I think I was able to empty my head in a lot of like different moments, and because of that, I think I was able to kind of like deal with things better. And also the little moments I had, some of them it was just they were very unhelpful. They were just like me indulging in past fantasies, and that's not what I want. But some of them, like, it was me thinking about like the story, like about my book, and that is acceptable, not acceptable, like that is encouraged. That's pretty much what I want, to happen. And I have a new you could call, in the book, there's like a new character that the character is not new, but like it's not new to me because this character has existed a long time. But I'm introducing this character in this book instead of like the next one. I'm not going to go too much in depth with like everything, but like that. So basically the point is I have to find like the interest points, because it's not going to be like a, because like all characters. I'm like, honestly, I'm juggling a lot of different characters. Like there's a lot of different perspectives, and like I need those perspectives to tell the story I want. So I'll be adding, what is one more? It can just make the story kind of like very scrambled. But I don't know. Like I feel like the way that I approach my novels is very much like there's a story I want to tell, and I'm going to tell it. So I'm going to do things my way, basically, and that is kind of like how most of the things in life they work. For me, I'm just gonna do them my way. There is a certain way, and then there's my way. And when it works, it works. When it doesn't, it leads to a lot of instability, which is something I should probably talk about, with my therapist. And then I might, if I remember, to bring this up when I go back. But so, like the story being the way that it is, because sometimes, it is about the character, sometimes it is about the plot. Sometimes it is both. I think like that is the ideal situation. When it is you're furthering both the plot and giving your characters development. But anyway, so there's this new character. So like I'll have to find some openings. I'm thinking as of right now, 3 chapters. But depending on where the story goes, I might have to add more. I don't know. I don't know how far I'm taking this, because as I said, this is a character that exists in my head, has existed in my head for the longest time. So nothing about the story is new to me, but it is new to the story. It is new to like this novel. So I have to think about how I'm introducing things and how I am furthering things, and what makes sense for in this story for me to feature. Because I don't want to show too much, I don't want to show too little. I want to find like the right amount. And I usually do, like at least with my best novels, I'm pretty happy with like the final product. They were not perfect by any stretch, of the imagination, but I'm really happy with what I put out, and I learned a lot from like those experiences. And this learning, it translates into like whatever I'm writing. So what didn't really work out as well is what I'm doing better, right here. And also, like that one, it took me a long time to finish. This one, I'm aiming for something shorter, but no pressure. Like I'm gonna take my time, so I can have I want to be proud and happy with what I finish. So that's that. But anyways, I'm gonna wrap this up right now so I can actually go back and focus on the story. But today was pretty good. I started saying it was mid, but thinking about things, it was actually pretty good, because like a lot of like the initial things that I was like, okay, this was me with the old fantasy. It was actually just me kind of like processing loss, and like their absence, and what it's going to be like for this to not have that. And so, and it was just me kind of like just voicing in my head out loud, like all the negative feelings, all the nasty, I think nasty is a better way to say it, because these are feelings that usually I don't really allow myself to have, which can be something of a problem in itself, because if I'm feeling that way and I'm suppressing those feelings, then that is not ideal, that's not good for you. So if I have those feelings, I have to kind of acknowledge them in the very least. And I don't always want to, because doing that makes me feel unreasonable. And as I said before, and I that's the thing, like it's so weird, because I feel like being unreasonable is such like a whatever thing. Like at least like I look around, nobody seems to be really interested in being reasonable. Some people might even say that they do, that they want that, but then you hear them talking, and just like, you're not really caring about being reasonable, you're just fucking saying that. So I don't know, like it's just like everywhere I look, so much unreasonableness. Like why I'm trying to hold myself to like a standard that like nobody else is meeting. Like why am I trying to, I'm not trying to be different or special. I'm just just like habit. I kind of like created this reality in my head when I was younger, where I had to be very reasonable, about things, and I could never not be reasonable. And that led, as I said, to less suppressing some emotions. So, and I don't care anymore. So it's just habit, like I don't care if I'm being unreasonable. I mean, as long as I'm not doing anything that is affecting other people. That's kind of, I have to add this here, because it's not just like me doing whatever. It's just like me with myself, having my moments, me being unreasonable. It's fine. It's not really impacting, my choices. It's not really getting in the way of anybody living their lives the way they want to. So, it's okay. As long as you don't hurt yourself or other people, I'm kind of like whatever. I will say that we're hurting you, like that part is somewhat new, because I think when I was younger, I was very much like, I mean, it's you can hurt yourself if you want to. And right now, I'm starting to be more like, maybe we should, stop people from hurting themselves. Maybe we should, like we shouldn't just, we shouldn't be that much, like laissez-faire. We have to, if we can, prevent self-destruction, let's do it, right? But yeah, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Just a lot of rambling, I know, but these ramblings, they actually do help me. They help me with the healing, and it's just like an interesting way, because I'm basically talking about the things that happened today. And as I said, like I kind of got a different perspective right now from what happened this morning and this early in the afternoon. I'm realizing that today was not a bad day. It was rest wrong. It was a pretty good day. I healed, I relaxed, I was able to purge some emotions, I was able to kind of like process some feelings, and I'm all the better, for that. So anyways, bye.